We are grading every single NFL draft class based on three categories. First of all, we're going to grade based off of whether or not the team drafted the players that fit their needs for next season, as well as the overall talent that they got, just assessing the draft class as a whole. And then finally, the value. Is each player worth where they were drafted at? Were they a steal at that position, or did the team maybe reach a little bit and not get as good a value as they could have if they had traded the pick? And then after that, we're going to go ahead and give them an overall grade. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video.
After a 4-13 season, the Raiders decided to bring in Pete Carroll to be their head coach and traded for Geno Smith to be their starting quarterback. And now in the NFL draft, they needed a wide receiver, running back, cornerback, safety, and offensive guard. And with their first round pick at pick number 6, they took the best running back in college football last season, one of the best running backs ever, Ashton Genty. Arguably should have won the Heisman last year, one of the best players college football has ever seen. And he's going to make an instant impact for this Raiders offense. Going to take a lot of pressure off of Geno Smith with maybe some other question remarks on this offense.
Next up, they grabbed a weapon for Geno Smith and addressed their second team need in just two picks, taking Jack Beck out of TCU. This another really good pick. TCU had a very strong wide receiver room last season, and Beck was a huge part of that. I think this is going to pan out very well for Las Vegas.
Yeah, and he's just a great guy too. Great story with his brother. That's definitely something if you don't know about it, look up Jack Beck and look up Tiger Beck, his brother. Just a really heartwarming story. Into the third round, they took cornerback Darian Porter, addressing yet another team need, and this is definitely one of the best picks they could have made. Darian Porter 6'3", 195. That's a monster height for a cornerback. Not going to have very many people that are going to be able to head tap him, especially in a pretty good division for the wide receivers. He's fast and can pretty much do it all. Just the ideal pick for the Raiders here.
And with their fourth pick, they address their fourth need, taking Caleb Rogers, offensive tackle out of Texas Tech. However, he is going to play guard for the Raiders in the NFL. So that does address a team need. He's only played 3 games at guard, so he might be a little bit of a project. I do think this is going to be a pretty solid pick overall. He was a really good tackle, and if Vegas liked him enough to maybe reach a little bit, not by much, but just a little bit, just to get him to play guard. I think they probably know what they're doing here.
And then with a pick right after that, they took Charles Grant, an offensive tackle from William and Mary. The number 8 overall offensive tackle played 41 games at left tackle in college. So he's definitely very experienced, assuming he's going to be the day one starter. If he's not, he's sure to work himself into that starting lineup very, very quickly. Overall, a great player to add to this offensive line. Building the trenches is always a good thing.
Their next pick, though, was pretty questionable as they reached all the way into projected mid seventh round to grab Dante Thornton Jr., a wide receiver out of Tennessee, in the early fourth. This incredibly questionable pick. I still don't really get why they took him this early. I think they could have waited a long time and he still would have been there.
While that may be true, he's 6'5", 205. That is an absolute behemoth of a human being that you have running routes out there. If someone else thought maybe he could have been a massive weapon for their offense, then I don't really blame the Raiders for making sure that they get their hands on him. But despite that, he definitely could have been drafted a lot later. Later on in the fourth round, they took defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway out of South Carolina. South Carolina's pass rush was one of their defining factors last season, one of the best in college football. So taking a defensive lineman from South Carolina, it's a pretty good and safe bet. He's a little bit undersized compared to other tackle prospects at 6'3", 284, but does possess a high motor and maybe will be able to develop to a place where he can see some starting time.
And their first pick of the sixth round, they took J.J. Pegues, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Now, a little bit of a sidetrack. The Raiders got Chip Kelly to be their offensive coordinator, and while Pegues is a defensive player, I guarantee you that he made this pick. Because if you know anything about Chip Kelly, he loves to run some fun trick plays. And Pegues has lined up at D tackle, defensive end, wildcat, quarterback, running back, and tight end for Ole Miss. Um, Chip Kelly's going to have some fun with this guy on the offense. I guarantee it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, didn't he have 4 rushing touchdowns last season? He's gonna work his way all over the field. The new William the Refrigerator Perry in 2025. Later on in the sixth round, they took probably one of the most interesting players in this entire draft, drafting Tommy Mellott out of Montana State. Now, he was listed as a quarterback for this draft class, but they took him as a wide receiver. He finished his college career with 3,523 rush yards, 5,810 passing yards, and was not really regarded very highly as a quarterback, but as we can see by his rushing stats, does possess some wheels. I don't really know what his pass catching ability is, but like you were saying with Chip Kelly liking to run trick plays, this is a flea flicker screen pass specialty right here. He's going to be a very fun offensive weapon for the Raiders here.
Yeah, I think the only challenge is really just getting him to make the roster. Most likely scenario, he's going to have to do it on special teams, probably on as a punt returner. Their next pick, they went quarterback out of the FCS again. This guy they're actually going to keep at quarterback. That's going to be Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. He should be a solid backup, probably a third string at least to start. He's a dual threat ability as well. Definitely going to be a big project, but Chip Kelly's a quarterback whisperer, so I'll trust him with this pick.
Finally, with an early seventh round pick, the Raiders closed out their draft class by taking Cody Lindenberg, a linebacker from Minnesota. Incredibly valuable pick. He was projected to go somewhere in the late fifth, early sixth round. So not a terrible pick here. Doesn't really address a team need, but at this point, you're just taking best available player here, and he definitely could make his way into the lineup at some point. I don't really know who the Raiders linebackers are at the current moment. That can maybe tell you that they need some linebacker help in addition to their other team needs. So this could end up panning out to be a very good pick.
Overall, though, or they addressed 4 out of their 5 needs because remember, Caleb Rogers is going to play offensive guard in the NFL. So all of their first 4 picks as well. So B plus for the needs grade. Talent wise, also going to be a B plus. Ashton Jeanty, huge help to this grade. I also really like Jack Beck. And then you got some fun picks in there, like we were talking about with JJ Pegues and Tommy Mellott. So some very interesting picks. And I think the Raiders could be a pretty fun team to watch actually in 2025. Value wise, not too many reaches, but there were definitely a few that do end up hurting this grade, dropping it to a B plus. So I don't know if any of you guys are really good at math, but when you add up 3 B pluses and divide it by 3, you get a B plus overall. Pretty solid draft class from Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think this was a dream draft class from the start, getting Ashton Jeanty going into draft night. They were very, very high on Ashton Jeanty, so just getting probably your franchise player is going to be huge for the team. Their other second and third round picks, I think, are all going to turn out to be great picks. And then after that, once you got into the day three, fourth pick, fourth round and beyond, it just got a whole lot fun. So I think this is going to just be a really fun team to watch and see what shenanigans they get up to next season. I don't know if they'll be competing for an AFC West title, but definitely could be a fun team to watch out for. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. This is our last NFL draft grades video, but we are moving on to a new series predicting all of the college football records for next season. So be on the lookout for those videos, and we will see you in the next one.